I'm a firm believer that very often the anticipation and anxiety around how long the pain will last hurts way more than the pain itself. And I think intrinsically we know this. When we know the sprint or push-up hold or wall sit will only last 15 seconds, it makes the discomfort exponentially more tolerable. And it does so immediately. It's like, oh, 15 seconds? Okay, no problem. But if someone just yells out, start sprinting and don't stop until I tell you to. Do a push-up hold or a wall sit until you hear a whistle. Your mind immediately becomes consumed with how long will this last? What if it's 3 minutes, 5, 10, then what? The task itself, regardless of how challenging, is almost always manageable. And there's a quick little anecdote for you that brought this to the forefront of my mind again. So, yesterday I had a migraine, and it's been a long time since I've had one, but something triggered it, and it hit me, and it was the usual, room started spinning, head pounding, pulsing right behind my eyes, which, the light started bothering me so much that I had to keep them closed for most of the day. Yesterday was a lost day. And it came on during my morning workout, 7 a.m. intervals, and it was just a tough experience, right? My trainer's having me go from jump squats to decline push-ups to sprints and on and on. And it's a workout that's hard enough to do when you feel incredible, right? When you're energized and feel like $1 million, let alone a headache that's almost debilitating, right? And the internal dialogue immediately emerged. Like, hey, say something, right? Do we call it off? Imagine how this is going to feel 40 minutes from now. It's going to be unbearable. You can't do this. That's the chatter going on in my brain. But ultimately, I don't know if it was pride or what, but I just made the decision. We're down here. He obviously drove here. Let's finish. And the footage is pretty funny to look back on. He took some, iPhone shots, and it's like, I look like I'm openly weeping the entire workout, just like the pain in my face, just pouting to myself as I do an ab circuit, right? But here's the reality. As awful as that was, you take it one set at a time, and even that misery is manageable. I finished about 90 minutes later, went upstairs, turned the lights off, and was in bed until dinner, right? But as I got up and kind of decompressed, I just kept thinking, dude, that sucked so much. And you did high intensity interval training in the heart of that chaos. And some of you might hear this and think I'm boasting or trying to sound cool. I promise you I'm not, right? Here is the reality, and why I think this matters to begin with. It has nothing to do with being special. Nothing. It has everything to do with how strong we are when we break life down into short intervals and stop looking at the work in totality. We can do the miraculous 15 seconds at a time. Even when our head's exploding as we're doing jump squats with the 20-pound medicine ball. I harp on this because it is the essence of greatness. To me, it's not just semantics, it's not just words, right? No one can run a marathon, but we can run 1 mile 26.2 times. Same thing? I think not. And it's the fear of the adversary in its entirety that stops us from dismantling it. We can do incredible things when we take what's in front of us and conquer it. Only what's in front of us, one step at a time, one brick at a time, one action at a time. The way you build a media company is the same way you run 100 miles. You just jump into it and tackle all the little, and sometimes not so little, obstacles as they emerge. As though you're jumping into a river and dealing with the current in real time. Do I ever want to do that again with a migraine? Hell no. But guess what? I know I can. And somehow that perspective made today's workout a little easier. I guarantee you in your world there are things you either consciously or subconsciously shy away from because in totality they just seem like too much. But the things that will transform you, that will change your life, they are too much. Way too much. They're bigger than anything you can handle in one bite. But no one's asking you to do it all at once. The answer is in doing it, period. Jumping into that river or stream and navigating it piece by piece. Now, there is so much power untapped residing in you, waiting to be released into the world. But you have to understand you are the gatekeeper of your own mind. Understand that you are the one slowing you down. You are the only one who sends permission slips in your life. When you get that, when you truly understand, life becomes an assortment of pieces waiting for an architect who can build, run, fight, create, endure, whatever it is, in 15-second increments for however long it takes. And my thought, well, I'll leave you with this. Right now, this moment is your time. But you have to gift yourself permission to make the most of it. Even when the conditions aren't ideal, even when the road seems long, at some point you'll look back over your shoulder and be shocked at the ground you covered 15 seconds at a time. Life is about duality. It's about being grateful for the road behind you, but also excited and hungry for what's ahead. That balance is where growth lives. It's why we created AGNS. Always grateful, never satisfied. More than just an apparel company, it's a reminder that there's always another hill to climb. And if you go to agns.lifestyle and you sign up for the email list, you'll get daily inspiration right to your inbox, latest updates on all the new merch drops, as well as a 20% off discount code. Hope to see you there. It's better to believe. Because where there's belief, there is a seed of possibility. A tiny flame that can set your world ablaze. And you might hear that and think, oh, but I've believed. Eddie, you have no idea. I've believed and I've wished and I've hoped and I've dreamed and I've prayed for more and I've meditated to be content with less. Oh, I've believed. And let me tell you, there's no certainty attached to it. Well, I think that's true. In fact, I think it's one of life's most important truths. The only certainty in life is uncertainty. But without belief, it's guaranteed that what you want will not be brought to life, that there will be no potential, there will be no journey, that what matters most will not materialize. Sure, belief is not a guarantee you'll get there, but a lack of belief is a guarantee that you won't. Without the creation and faith in a target, well, obviously there's no target for you to hit. At least not a target of your own. Belief is the fuel required to navigate life's uncertainties. It's often treacherous ups and downs. It's your lantern in the dark and fire on a cold winter's night. Belief takes the probability of reaching your mountaintop from essentially zero all the way up to, well, let's see how bad he wants this. I once heard the idea that if you don't believe in and pursue your dreams, you'll spend your days bringing to life someone else's. And most likely those two things are not the same. If you don't believe in a world where when that sun comes up and your eyes open, you are content and driven and inspired, then it will always remain as real as it is now. It will appear only as an illusion. To believe is to begin. To believe is to plant the seed. To believe is to greenlight your journey. If you do not believe, you don't go. And if you don't go, then you will never arrive. So here's an anecdote or a quick story to bring this home. Imagine with me a runner, very on brand. And this runner's not extraordinary. In fact, if you'd ask anyone who knew the guy, they'd have said he's average at best. Wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, but deep down he just had a dream to run a marathon, and not just run it, but conquer it. He could visualize himself crossing that line, arms raised, crowd cheering. But every time he got that email about signing up, the doubt crept in. It felt too big. Who do you think you are? They would whisper. You've never run more than 2 miles in your life. A marathon, that's some people, but it ain't you. And for years he'd listened to this. For years he stood still while that finish line stayed a distant dream. Till one day, a very average run-of-the-mill day, he decided to make a decision, not a grand proclamation or some dramatic event. It was simple. He told himself, I don't have to finish today. I mean, I don't even know if I can, but I do have to start. That vision of me holding my arms up after 26.2 miles. Time to take an axe to that tree because I believe that I can. And just like that, the idea went from imaginary to tangible. He put on his shoes, he ran 1 mile. And when he finished, he didn't feel like a marathon runner. But he believed himself to be someone who soon could be. And that belief, as small as it was, became everything. Day after day, he showed up 2 miles, 3 miles, 10 miles, 15, right? Each step forward built on the last. And before long, he found himself at the starting line of that marathon that once seemed too far away to be real. And here's the thing. You know this. I know this. But it's got to be said, he did not cross that finish line because he was special. He didn't cross it because he was the strongest or fastest. He crossed it because one day he decided simply to believe. And that belief was the ticket. It was the beginning. It was the green light. It was the quiet, powerful permission to start, even though he was scared and uncertain, completely unsure of what the road would bring. One of my guiding mantras has been confidence is earned. It's the reminder that you don't necessarily have to know what the future looks like or what the next day or week or month looks like, but you have to have the confidence in yourself to be able to navigate as it comes. It's the silent power that turns I can't into, well, maybe I can. And maybe I can becomes the crack in the door that lets you kick it open. It's a process where every victory, every transformation, every mountaintop begins. So all I ask of you is this. Will you give yourself that permission? Who cares about tomorrow? Because who knows about tomorrow? But right now, in this moment, will you believe enough to start? Will you give your future self that gift? Because the finish line is out there. It's waiting, and the only thing standing between you and that moment is your belief that you deserve to begin. He wasn't handed excellence. No silver spoons, no guarantees, no headlines written about his birth. No, he wasn't born into the record books. He wasn't carved into marble before he ever took a breath. He was an ordinary person. And that's what makes his story so sacred. Because when you peel back the layers, when you turn down the volume of the world and listen close, you hear something remarkable. You hear self-belief. He believed himself capable of extraordinary things. Not because he was instructed to, not because the world applauded. He simply decided it would be so. And that decision, that seemingly trivial, insignificant decision, it changed everything. You see, most people stand on the edge of their potential looking out. Yeah, they can see the horizon, but they let fear talk them down. They carry the weight of every doubt, every voice that ever whispered, "You can't." But not him. He was crazy enough to believe it was possible. And that kind of belief, well, it's dangerous. It upends the status quo. It questions what's deemed realistic. It burns the rulebook and rewrites the story. To believe in the face of failure, to bet on yourself when there's no applause, no confirmation, that's where legends are born. Because belief is the inflection point. It's where it all begins. And so he showed up every day, and I mean every single day. Not just when it was convenient, not when he felt inspired, but when the world was heavy, when the journey felt uphill, when no one was watching and the world screamed quit, when he woke up tired and lost and beaten down. He showed up. He ran through storms others simply refused to walk in. He climbed hills most people complained about from the base. He kept going, knowing that it wasn't easy, but that the meaningful things, well, they rarely were. He knew that extraordinary doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up with lights and music and buzz and hype. It's quiet. It's disguised in discomfort, hidden in sacrifice. It's earned. One decision at a time, one step forward into the night. Every scar became a sentence in his story. Every setback a setup for something greater. He didn't run from the pain. And believe me, there are days where he wanted to. But he stood firm, he stood tall, and found within the chaos wisdom. Within the nothingness, value. Within the void, the path. And when the world questioned him, when they rolled their eyes, when they asked, "Who do you think you are?" he answered, rarely with words, but with movement, with progress, determination, with grit, with fire. Because he didn't need their permission. He'd given that to himself long ago. So when you look at his journey, know this. You're not different in your potential. You're different in your belief. Your moment won't come wrapped in clarity or applause. There won't be lights or a grandiose celebration. It will merely whisper, "Go." When you're afraid, when you're tired, when the odds don't favor you, and your only job in that moment is to be crazy enough to believe that it's possible. That's it. Not leap a mountain, not traverse an ocean. Believe that it's possible. To show up when something deep inside wants to let go and hide. To speak when silence feels safer. To try again when failure is the only thing you've known for what seems like years. And to do so, not because the world promised you anything in return. No, we get no guarantees in this game, none. But because something inside you whispered, "This is who I am." So yeah, he was ordinary. But he believed himself capable of extraordinary things. And now he is the proof that the impossible bends for those willing to believe they belong in the arena. And my friends, not someday. Not when it's perfect. It will never be perfect. Now. Here. Today. In this moment. Be crazy enough to believe yourself capable of extraordinary things. There is no reward in life without risk. This morning, having that cup of coffee, I was on X, seeing what was going on in the world, and happened to come across an excerpt from, I believe, the Lex Fridman podcast. And one of my favorite authors, Walter Isaacson, was speaking. And I'm going to read you a piece of the quote here, because I think it's nothing short of incredible. He says, "I've had a gentle, sweet career, and I've got to cover really interesting people." Side note, that's what he does. He writes a lot of really good biographies. He did Elon Musk's biography, Steve Jobs' biography, just really, really good author. Back to the quote. He says, but I've never shot off a rocket that might someday get to Mars. I've never moved us into the era of electric vehicles. I've never stayed up all night on the factory floor. I don't have quite those, either the drives or the addiction to risk. He then goes on. I mean, Elon's addicted to risk. He's addicted to adventure. Me, if I see something that's risky, I spend some time calculating. Okay, upside, downside here. But, and here's the best part of the quote, that's another reason that people like Elon Musk get stuff done and people like me write about the Elon Musks. When I saw that, I couldn't help but pause. Because here's someone I admire greatly. I don't think there's anyone in the world that, takes such complex characters and people and tells their story in such an incredible way. He's built an entire career doing this, and he's reflecting on the difference between documenting life and daring to create it, between writing about the rockets and building them. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. This is a personal opinion. Sure, he's not sending rockets to Mars. But the courage to start writing and to put yourself out there like that is not nothing. So it's not 0 and 100 here, but I think you get the point. There are people that build, that put all of themselves on the line, and then there are people who view that, who analyze that, and give their opinions on that. And they're very different things. You know, that quote brought me back to a truth I've wrestled with my whole life. It's essentially the difference between safety and risk, between holding on to what you know and betting on what you could be. See, safety's comfortable. It's logical. It lets you sleep at night. It is the warm blanket in the middle of the storm, and for a long time, that was me. It might be you now. Maybe it was you in the past. Right? I thought if I just stayed calculated, if I minimized risk, then success would be inevitable. But here's what I've learned. Avoiding risk does not guarantee safety. But it does guarantee something. You know what that is? Stagnation. It guarantees your story never makes it past the opening chapter. And what that quote emphasized is that at the core of every great story, there must be risk. There's a timeless anecdote that, when I searched for it, is associated with Cortez. I'm not sure how true that is, but regardless, right? The idea in and of itself is powerful. As the story goes, in 1519, he stood at the shores of the New World with, his hundreds of men, staring at a vast unknown, and his order was famously, burn the ships. Why? Because that act makes retreat no longer an option. That means the only way forward is through. Because when you eliminate the safety net, you find out what you're truly capable of. You don't accidentally put rockets on Mars. You go all in. That becomes your life. Similarly, Cortez in this story is eliminating all off-ramps. It highlights the principle, progress requires risk, the willingness to step into an unknown. Cortez understood something that Elon Musk understands. Assuming that's actually Cortez's quote, of course. But the idea is, if you want to reshape the world, you have to be willing to put something on the line. Now, I've had those micro moments in my life. I'm sure you have as well. Moments standing at a crossroads where we have to decide, do we stay comfortable or do we put ourselves out there? And every season of life has different variations of this. Right now, for me, it's particular business ventures that contain risk and some fitness changes, some lifestyle changes. Every one of those decisions in and of themselves at the starting block is terrifying. I don't know how it's gonna play out. I don't know if I'm gonna fall flat on my face. But historically, those terrifying decisions are what made me. The risks I took became the bridges to the life I live now. And right now is no exception. It is a bridge to the future, to an evolved self, a better, improved reality. I think back and wonder, imagine if I didn't go, if I didn't jump. And that's the thing we often forget. There's a cost to not taking risks too. The cost of regret, the cost of what if, the cost of living life from the sidelines while others are in the arena. It's not just about what we risk losing if we leap. It's about what we risk never experiencing if we don't. Life is a game of trade-offs. You can minimize risk and be a spectator, or embrace it and step into unlimited opportunity. Risk is the doorway to transformation. It's the teacher that strips away the inessential and forces you to grow. Let's face it, no one remembers the person who stayed comfortable. No one writes books about the guy who stayed where it was safe. We remember the ones who dared, the ones who said, burn the ships, the ones who said, I don't know what's on the other side, but I'll find out. The ones who knew that rockets don't get to Mars by staying in the hangar. So I go back to the quote. And I remind myself this life isn't about documenting what others do or consuming their pictures or videos or behaviors. It's about writing your own story. One risk at a time, one act of courage at a time. And yes, risk is uncomfortable. Absolutely, it's uncertain. But without it, there's no adventure. Without it, there is no change. Like I said, every single time I look back at my journey, every breakthrough came from stepping out of what was safe, from leaping before I was ready, from risking failure for the chance to build something extraordinary. And that is what I want to leave you with today. The next time life gives you the choice between safety and risk or watching and daring, bet on yourself. Take that leap, burn the ships. Because the greatest tragedy isn't failure. It's never finding out who you could have become had you only been willing to risk it all. When you wake up in the morning, I want you to visualize this. I want you to visualize a world where you know, where you're certain that good ideas flow through you. Where the world around you needs and appreciates your courage, your decision-making. Imagine a world where you aren't reliant on anyone or anything to fix the issues in your life, to make things better. Instead, you see yourself as the guy or gal that makes it happen, that steps up. You're responsible for being the change you want to see. I want you to imagine stepping outside your house, shoulders back, head held high, excited to go chase down all that opportunity. Because one, you know it's there, and two, you know you are worthy of it. Now hold that thought and think, this could be the reality you live. As soon as you wait for it, give yourself permission to live that way. How different would your life be if you greenlit those things? See, it's hard to break away from the framing that we've given ourselves, especially over time, how it's materialized. It's hard to reinvent the identity you've created for the person staring back at you in the mirror. But the truth is, all worthwhile things are hard. I love the Robin Sharma quote. It says, if you want what only the 5% have, you need to be willing to do what only the 5% are willing to do. And sure, this could be physical, dedication, long hours. Could be a lot of things. But before any of that, how about seeing yourself worthy of someone who can become the 5%? That in and of itself is hard. In fact, believing that for me was one of the greatest challenges of my life. Seeing myself as that person, right? That doesn't come easy. It has to be chipped away at, earned. But when you create that mentality, when you hold on tight and you walk towards it relentlessly, you become it. Little by little, day by day. So much of life is making yourself believe you are who you want to be. It's a perpetual feedback loop of sorts. You believe you are, so you act like it, which then reinforces your belief, which prompts greater action, and around we go. I'm going to give you sort of an arbitrary example of how powerful this can be. A few months ago, for the first time, I hired a cleaning service, which my rationale used to be, dude, put on a podcast, zone out, clean up a little bit. Once a week, who cares, right? But that little investment changed a lot. One, my place looks nicer, so I feel better and I'm more productive. It's consistently just nicer to be here. And two, and most important, is that it prompts me to think like the creator and founder and business owner I want to be. It helped prompt a mental shift or further a mental shift. It says I am the type of person who's very methodical with my time. My time equals too valuable to do anything that doesn't push my art or business forward. It's that simple. And that bleeds into other decisions I make. Pushes that loop that we talked about, right? Some investments are valuable in that they help shape your perception. On days where I'm writing, where I'm not going out, or I have no meetings, I try not to wear sweatpants and a basketball jersey, right? And at first it's like, it's comfortable. Who cares? No one's around. Yeah, true. But would the type of person we visualized at the beginning of this episode wear that? Probably not. He'd probably try and be more consistent in how he felt, and how he acted, and how he carried himself. It's half the battle. Same thing with waking up early. Is it really the end of the world if I were to sleep in? No, it's really not. But would the type of person we mentioned at the beginning of this episode sacrifice a little bit to get a head start? I think he would. To me, rolling out of bed whenever we want simply says I'm not quite ready to be the next version of myself or level of myself. I'm okay with how things are, right? There's this sense of ambition and excitement, manufactured urgency in getting up before or as the sun's rising. I mean, to me, that's just how it is. Doesn't mean it's the only way, but to me, it's one of life's hidden advantages. In other words, it's very likely that if you do those things, you will start to feel like the type of person who does those things. And there's power in that. You know, we can do so much, create so much change, add so much value, but we don't even consider it in many cases because it feels too foreign. We're nowhere near giving ourselves permission to pursue that greatness we're capable of obtaining. Our day-to-day looks very different. Our actions, right, the decisions we make are very different. In order to grow, we have to set ourselves and the world around us up for growth. We have to surround ourselves with people that push us towards the place we want to be. Do things that align with our intended trajectory. Arrange the pieces so that they are indicative of what's possible, not what was. I keep learning how small the adjustments are in life that shape and reshape our reality. So small that no wonder they're laughed at, ignored. It's the little things we do that comprise how we feel, how we see ourselves. The identity, the role we play, is just the culmination of these little decisions over time. So as you wake up in the morning, remember, you are that person. The one who moves with confidence, who acts with courage, who helps and adds value to those around him. Good ideas do flow through you. Greatness is waiting to be unveiled, but you need to believe it for yourself and start making the little adjustments that will reinforce it. Get that feedback loop in motion. How you feel becomes what you do, becomes how you feel, becomes what you do. Right? And it'll amaze you that you didn't free yourself sooner, that you didn't unleash your potential earlier. As the saying goes, the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago. The second best is right now. So close your eyes, visualize how great life will become, and start planting.